Hello. The title of this video is Materialism and Forgiveness. Materialism and Forgiveness. Now, it should be immediately obvious that to think with any concept of forgiveness, it'd be very difficult, very hard to do that without having certain other closely related concepts in place first. The first which comes to mind is the concept of compassion. Compassion. See, I discussed compassion in one of my previous videos entitled Materialism and Compassion. So I recommend you to view it. Anyway, certainly if you cannot feel compassion, at least some measure of compassion for the other creature, it would be pointless to think of any concept of forgiveness. Forgiven for something the other creature has done to you. See, if you get bitten by a mosquito, it would, I guess, it would probably take a saint to genuinely feel compassion for the mosquito. So, it, barely crosses anyone's mind that he should forgive the mosquito for the bite. Isn't it? And another concept which certainly has to do with forgiveness, the idea of forgiveness, is the predicate or the concept of conscience. You see, I also I discuss conscience, what conscience is, in my last video, Materialism and Responsibility. And well, like when you attempt to forgive somebody for something they have done to you, which is not very nice, when you try to do that, it's quite likely that you presuppose that the person you're trying to forgive in your mind has some conscience. That is, you believe that he has some ability, at least, to recognize right from wrong, good from bad, that he is able to feel remorse or to feel bad about having done something which was harmful to another, which was bad, painful, so forth. And with it, that he has some ability to, for self-correction. To recognize that what he did to you was bad, or was harmful to you, was, painful to you, and so forth. He can recognize that. He is able to feel bad about it. And he's willing to, try to do something about it. Might make it up to you, or whatever you want to call it. Now, if you conceive of another person, the other, whatever the creature would be, and you conceive of it as having no conscience, no such ability, then the idea of you forgiving it, trying to forgive it or him, would be, pretty baseless, wouldn't it? Why would you forgive somebody? Why would you try to forgive if that other creature, in your estimation, in your experience, or in your opinion, in your belief, feels nothing whatsoever about what they have done to you? They don't care. They don't feel bad about it at all. They see nothing wrong with it. Right? What would be the point to... It would be pretty pointless, trying to forgive then, wouldn't it? Because you can only forgive if you at least hope that there is some value in forgiving. The value being that, the other one will come to appreciate it. And hopefully will realize something. And will mend his ways and so on. Now, yeah, as I said, I speak of conscience in my latest video, Materialism and, save this one, Materialism and Responsibility. Materialism and Responsibility. And, well, there is another way to look at it. And that is, simply put, a conscience, that is, as the ability to feel and recognize and to admit to oneself that one has done something that was wrong. And the ability and willingness to feel bad about it. I think that's very important. Because you don't find this in everybody. You certainly don't find this in everybody in the same degree. And I'm afraid that we live in a culture which is doing its best to try to suppress such way of thought or such feelings in all of us. So, okay. Compassion, conscience. And if we dissect it further, we may see that these qualities are themselves predicated. They are themselves predicated on other concepts and ideals, such as responsibility and self-respect and respect for others. And again, I have talked about self-respect and respect for others, and how these qualities are hardly possible in peak materialism and the consequences of this in a number of my previous videos, including the two I have just pointed out, namely materialism and compassion and materialism and responsibility. And in a number of them, actually, because these topics of self-respect and respect for others are actually quite pivotal for much of what I try to address and explain in my effort. Please understand that my video series represent a treatise of a complex subject. It's like a book. And you won't get much out of a book by skipping chapters and only reading a bit here and a bit there, you know. It's to so approach it is, in the better case, a sign of acedia. Acedia, an old Greek term for a spiritual sloth or laziness. An ailment which I'm afraid is ever more common these days. And so if you want to get as much as you can out of my videos, please try to watch all of them, ideally in the chronological order as I have published them, as I do publish them. All right, so back to the concept of forgiveness, or if you find the term forgiveness somewhat forbidding or maybe Christian related, so forth, put in its place the ability to get, over what others have done to you without eternal resentment or an urge for revenge, and so on. So this concept, and it is a concept, make no mistake, it's not, it's not a given. You may not, such concept does not always need to be around. You had cultures, maybe you still do have cultures and times based essentially on revenge, So the concept of forgiveness has these certain predicates, such as compassion, a belief that the other person has conscience, self-respect, respect, responsibility. Or to coach it in more humane and less abstract and philosophical terms, when you see essentially yourself and the other as a being aspiring to be little more of an angel than a beast, and making mistakes along the way, just as you do, and you can see the other, at least to some extent, in this light, because of shared ideals, then forgiveness is possible. Yeah. Otherwise, it is not, and it is it's an incomprehensible concept, except perhaps as a low apathetic version of it, where you cannot get revenge and, well, you eventually get tired and lethargic about, carrying it around and so forth. But the concept of forgiveness is not a given. It doesn't always have to be around. It is dependent, it is predicated on the existence of certain other concepts, none of which are present in peaked materialism. Thanks for watching.